Hello everybody, welcome back to another weather forecast. I'm meteorologist Aiden Leisure, and today we're going to be taking a look at the temperatures for the next couple of days as well as some of those weather patterns we're going to be experiencing for the next 1 to 2 weeks. And I'm going to sum it up by saying it's going to be active. For the next week or two, we're going to be seeing different doses of winter weather, where you may be seeing some freezing rain, some ice, and then into some snow. No giant snowmakers for the next 1 to 2 weeks, but we are going to be seeing a lot of winter weather patterns, whether that's going to be in the form of low pressure systems coming through the area, dumping some wintry precipitation in the area, or a giant cold blast. It can be either or. It's going to rotate between the two, though, as we get closer and closer to Christmas, so please be weather aware there. As you can see here in this graphic that I blew up, you can see all of those different low pressure systems. Here's the start. You can see that's coming in a couple days, and then we have a couple other shots of winter precipitation that may make its way into the area as soon as next week, and then we're going to kind of remain calm, and then eventually it's going to kick back up a little bit. So just keep in mind, as we get closer and closer to Christmas, we're not necessarily slowing down on our winter weather. We're going to be remaining active, especially as we get towards Christmas. If you guys have any Christmas traveling plans, please make sure you guys are paying attention to the weather as we get closer and closer to that holiday. So let's take a look at the temperatures. You can see here pretty much widespread 20s, 30s into the green, and then even into the 50s there in the orange. You can see in the middle of the country a lot of warmth building up there, and that's kind of, you can see here like this gradient of temperature. You can see between 20 degrees and 60 degrees. You can see where this jet stream is going. You can see it actually starts up here and makes its way down. You can see where all that cold air is getting pushed into, and then where all of that warmth is building. So you can see there very distinctly where that jet stream is, and that's going to matter later on. That's going to control exactly where our low pressure systems are going to go. That's going to tell us what type of precipitation we're going to be getting, and so that's very important to note. Tonight we're definitely going to be in freezing temperatures. You can see pretty much in the teens tonight around the Chicagoland area, up towards northern portions of the graphic there in the single digits, but then still that ridge here that's going to keep a lot of that warmth. Even though it's not necessarily warm, it's still freezing down into the southwestern portions of the graphic down there towards Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska. Now tomorrow you can see some red here. This is crazy. We're going to have upper 60s in the Kansas and Nebraska area in December. So it's quite warm for their neck of the woods there. You can see that warmth kind of does get into our area. You can see there we're going to be a little above freezing. We're going to be in maybe the high 30s. That's going to melt away some of that snow that's on the ground right now. We got about 6 inches kind of chilling on the ground pretty much anywhere in the Chicagoland area, at least 6 inches, maybe a little more. We're definitely going to see a lot of that melt, though, on tomorrow. You can see by those high temperatures, it will be warm enough to melt that snow, but that's going to present a problem come tomorrow night. You can see we still have a little bit of that residual warmth there from tomorrow into tomorrow night still sticking around. But what's going to happen is we're going to have the temperature swings between night and day go across the freezing line. So what that's going to mean is that all that snow is going to melt into water, and then eventually that water is going to freeze into ice. So what that's going to mean is if there's any roads that remained unplowed, or maybe like back roads necessarily that are still covered in drifting snow, if that all melts off into water and then freezes into ice, that's going to be a major travel implication. Now, it's not necessarily going to apply to the highways or the interstates; those are going to be salted. But we're going to also see those country roads and those back roads, absolutely, that are going to be left untreated by any plows or icing trucks, going to be experiencing that type of weather and that inclement travel. So please be weather aware there. Oswego, we are going to pretty much remain in under freezing besides Tuesday and Wednesday. You can see we're going to have different shots of precipitation make their way through Tuesday and Wednesday. We're not going to be seeing the sun for a little bit, guys, so please make sure you guys are getting your vitamins and stuff. We may not see it for a little bit. Again, it still may come through, though, on the weekend as we get into the colder temperatures. As those Arctic blasts come in, maybe we'll see that sun again, but obviously in exchange for some brutal cold. You can see here, though, Tuesday, Wednesday going to be our rainmakers. It's not necessarily going to dump inches and inches of rain. We're just going to be seeing some of that moisture off of the Pacific Northwest fire its way into the area, and then also into Friday have that chance for snow. And not to say that Tuesday and Wednesday we may also have some snow falling as well as rain. So we may see, as that transition from 38 degrees down into 32, 31, 30, we may start to see the precipitation change, which is going to present a lot of travel implications there. So 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, we're going to remain pretty much below average on the northeastern portion of the graphic. That is solely because of the way the jet stream is set up. It is completely leaving the west out to dry. It is going to be terribly dry pretty much the entire way across this area here. Anywhere that remains above average, the desert southwest, you guys are going to be experiencing desert conditions. Essentially, you guys are not going to be seeing a whole lot of rain. Definitely a lot warmer, a lot hotter than what you guys are used to. But then up here, as we see more and more low pressure systems train their way through the area, it's going to bring a lot of cold air into that portion of the graphic there in the blue. So do keep in mind that. We're going to see also this precipitation outlook remains pretty below average the entire way through the next 2 weeks on this big sliver of the country here. It goes all the way up into the Dakotas, down south into Texas, and then also remains very below average down there in the southwest. But that's going to mean that we're going to see still some things pop off of this side. You can see the Pacific Northwest still remaining very moist. You can see very above average for the next 2 weeks or so, and that's going to pop off little pieces of low pressure systems that are going to kind of cut their way into this area where it still remains above average. It's not necessarily going to dump a crap ton of snow, but it's going to dump a little bit of winter precipitation, enough for it to be around normal. So we're not going to necessarily be below average in this normal sector here. We're still going to be experiencing shots of cold weather and winter weather. So please remain weather aware for the next 2 weeks, especially going into Christmas. You guys are going to need a lot of insight as to what's going on in your weather as you guys travel. If you guys are on the road, even flying, it's going to have implications on that if it presents itself in that sense. So please pay attention to the weather for the next week or two as you guys get into Christmas. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next forecast.